Did you know the Nintendo Switch 2 system has two types of physical game cards? Game key cards. Game key cards don't contain any game data.
Man, hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. Its-A-Mii here, and yes, you saw the thumbnail, you saw the title, you probably already been on social media and you've seen what happened this morning regarding Pokemon Pokopia, a Nintendo published game, and the release structure of this game. $70, which I think may be a little bit more than people were expecting. That's neither here nor there. The thing we're talking about in today's video is the game key card situation. So up to now, most third-party games on the Nintendo Switch 2 have been game key cards. There are a few exceptions, Cyberpunk, Hades 2, but for the most part, it's been game key cards all along the way because, as we know, well, there's two things. One, much cheaper storage option, so the publishers are making more money when they're on a game key card. Makes sense. But also, we've heard from developers like Ubisoft and Star Wars Outlaws that it actually helps the game in terms of like some sort of cloud technology. I'm not sure the exact specifics, but the developers are saying it can help performance of a game, depending. Obviously, that's not going to apply to a game like Puyo Puyo Tetris, but for certain games, there are benefits according to developers. I'm not a developer. I can't speak on whether or not that's true or not. But since game keycards were announced and since the Switch 2 came out, it has been pretty widely understood that first-party Nintendo games, games from Nintendo IP, are going to be on the cartridge, and that has remained true every step of the way so far this year. We had Mario Kart World, we had the Zelda Switch 2 editions, every Switch 2 edition for Pokemon, for Kirby, for Mario Party, those are all on the cartridge, but even stuff like Bonanza, Hyrule Warriors, which is very important, we'll talk about that in just a second, and even the upcoming Kirby Air Riders, these are all games that are on the cartridge. So I think, and rightfully so, most people, myself included, assume that moving forward, every game that you would say is a Nintendo game was going to be on the cartridge. However, this morning, Nintendo announced the release date for Pokemon Pokopia, releasing on March 5th, 2026. I'm actually very excited for this game. Same team that did Dragon Quest Builders. I love Dragon Quest Builders. Adding Pokemon on top of that, like, yeah, that's going to be something I am very much into. $70, March 5th. They're releasing a new trailer for it on Thursday. I think I'll do another video on the main channel about it then, talking about the game itself a little bit more. But it's a game keycard. They announced this morning it's a game keycard, and accompanying that announcement, they actually released a new video on their YouTube channel explaining what game keycards are. Now, there are many different conclusions you can come to with Pokopia being a game keycard. Why is this game a game keycard? Why did they post that video? I've seen both sides of it. People saying, well, maybe they're pushing game keycards so much they want people to adopt game keycards and be more accepting of game keycards. So, you know, maybe that's why they're doing Pokopia that way. They know this game is going to be very successful. It's a Pokemon cozy game. It's going to sell a lot of copies. Let's go ahead and like indoctrinate people with a game that has very high sales potential, but also low risk because it is a spinoff. Let's go ahead and make this one a game keycard and show people it's okay. Now, I personally feel like this is a little bit conspiracy brained, I gotta be honest, but I have been seeing people say it. And also, it is the fact that they have released that video explaining what game keycards are alongside it, because like this is a marketing beat, right? Like this was the marketing beat for, okay, pre-orders are live on the eShop. We have a release date now, getting a new trailer on Thursday, but also it's a game key card, and we're going to tell you what that means and why, from Nintendo's perspective, you should be okay with it. And mind you, this is all speculation. We don't know exactly why Pokopia is a game key card, but there's also the other side of it, the side that might be a little bit more in favor of game key cards. Is it possible that Nintendo crunched the numbers and they just saw, well, all these games are still selling pretty well. I mean, we see some games selling worse at retail than others, but a game like Star Wars Outlaws sold pretty well as a game key card. I wonder if Nintendo's looking at all those numbers and they're crunching all that, and they're like, well, who cares, right? Ultimately, people are going to buy the game they want to play, be that through the game key card or through the eShop. Maybe they're viewing it as like a, well, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get people buying digitally either way, and then they're making more money. Now, a lot of people still buy physical games on the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2, but maybe that's what it is, right? Maybe they saw game key cards not selling as badly as online would have you to believe, and they're just like, well, whatever, well, screw it, let's just do it. Then there is also the third option, and I think this might be the most rational, especially when talking about the future of Nintendo first-party games being on game key cards. So the cope online right now about this is that it's a one-time thing because it is a Koei Tecmo developed game, co-development with Game Freak, right? Koei Tecmo is the lead developer of it. Game Freak overseeing it is my understanding. However, that logic doesn't really fall through because, one, Nintendo is publishing this game in the Americas and in Europe. Koei Tecmo is publishing it in Japan. However, we have a very similar analog to that just came out this past week, and that is Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, which, notably, not a game keycard. That is a Koei Tecmo developed game that Nintendo published in America and in Europe, not in Japan, and it's not a game keycard in any region. So the idea that, oh, it's a Koei Tecmo game, that's why it's a game keycard, I don't think that really holds any value because, well, we just had a game developed by Koei Tecmo, published by Nintendo, and by Koei Tecmo in Japan that wasn't a game keycard. So I don't really think we can say that's the reason. It's not on Koei Tecmo. But I will say what makes this situation a little bit more unique, perhaps, and I think this might, once again, maybe be the most rational reasoning for it. This isn't just Koei Tecmo and Nintendo. You also have Pokemon Company and Game Freak involved. So maybe, putting on my business suit here for a second, you have so many major parties involved. Could it be that in this one specific instance, there's so many executives that they have to please? They're like, okay, let's scrape as much money off of this game as we can, and that's how that came to be. So what I'm saying is, when we get another Nintendo Warriors game in the future, or if we get even Pokemon Generation 10, which is only Nintendo, Pokemon Company, and Game Freak, like maybe those wouldn't be game keycards. Because I'm seeing people freak out about this, saying like, oh, all first-party games moving forward are going to be game keycards. We're going to see more and more of this. That very well could be, and I hope I am wrong about that, but I feel like this specific game, Pokopia, has so many cooks in the kitchen, if that makes sense, that maybe that's the reason. That's kind of my thought process. This is all very unfortunate. I must be honest. As someone who is not necessarily against game keycards, in fact, as someone who likes physical media, I see the alternative of an all-digital future, like truly all-digital future. And from that angle, I am, to an extent, happy that game keycards exist. And I feel right now the alternative for most games would be truly digital-only titles with no physical presence whatsoever. At least with the game keycard, you get to buy it, you get to sell it to a friend, whatever, or lend it to a friend. Still have a physical cartridge, you can put it on your shelf, you can collect them. Like that is a lot of the collecting experience for me. Being able to lend it to a friend especially is a big thing. I'm sure a lot of collectors would be very happy if publishers were just making the games more expensive so that the data is on the cartridge, like we're seeing with Nicholas with Binding of Isaac, Order Up, and that Pastry Panic game. However, once again, you look at like the response to those prices, $70 for Binding of Isaac. People are not happy about that either. It's not as clear cut as either side wants to make it out to be. It's not as simple as, oh, make it more expensive, and then that way, people will be happy because it's on the cartridge. No, that's not the solution. The reality is, and I say this as someone who would love for all of the data to be on all of the cartridges, the reality with game keycards, especially from the third party's perspective, the cheaper the game is, regardless of how you can buy it, be that digital only, be that game keycard, the cheaper it is, the happier people are going to be, even if it's a game keycard. I mean, just look at what happened 2 weeks ago with the Resident Evil triple pack that's releasing on Switch 2 for $90. You're getting 3 games, and that was a #1 bestseller on Amazon. Some people were replying to me being like, oh, this is ridiculous. All of these games should be on the cartridge, and that would be great. But that would also then mean the games are going to at least cost probably $70, right? Binding of Isaac, $70. Certainly Resident Evil 7 and 8 would be. And then, of course, 9 as well. In a perfect world, $90 would get you all 3 games on the cartridge, but that's not the reality of the situation. With all that being said, Pokopia being a game keycard is a huge L. There's no real excuse for Pokemon and Nintendo to use a game keycard, in my opinion, given the precedent that they've set with the past, 10 first-party games on the Switch 2. Like I said earlier, I think the reason might be because there are so many parties involved with that release, but ultimately, Nintendo is distributing that game, which means they are handling the physical product, which means Nintendo, the company that has seemingly been taking some sort of, loss, we'll say, loss in air quotes, on games like Hyrule Warriors and Mario Kart World and Bonanza and Prime 4 coming up, as releasing them fully on the cartridge, they should be doing that again, right? You set up a precedent, you got to keep doing that. And Pokopia being a game keycard, even though I think, once again, there might be those specific reasons, it does open the door for things that we don't want to happen, right? It does open the door for Splatoon Raiders, for example, just randomly, they could be like, well, we can make more money if it's a game key card. You know, I don't think that's going to happen. I really, truly do not think that those core Nintendo IP, like the ones that are truly Nintendo owned, like a Splatoon, like a Luigi's Mansion 4 next year, if that comes out, I don't think those would be game key cards. But by making Pokopia a game key card, I don't know. Maybe I kind of am buying into the indoctrination theory with this one, with Pokopia and the game key card like overview trailer they released to get people used to it, maybe, or something. I don't know. It's a very interesting situation. Very unfortunate. It kind of sucks being a Pokemon fan because every time they do anything, it's just the most negative PR that could possibly be for a video game. Legends ZA, I really enjoyed that game, but good lord, the conversation around that. And then Pokopia, what should be just a fun little cozy Pokemon, a game like that, right? A little farming game. Not necessarily farming. I guess you're farming. You're using your Bulbasaur as a leafage to build crops and stuff and then build your little town. Like, that should just be such a feel-good game, right? We're finally getting a proper console Pokemon spinoff again after so long. And of course, of course, this one had to be the one that they're like, you know what? We're going to use Pokemon as a game key card. I truly, genuinely hope that we get to 2026 and games like Pokemon Wind and Waves and Splatoon Raiders, I truly hope they are on the cartridge and not game key cards. And I don't really think they will be, but this does kind of just open that door of like doubt, right? That we didn't really have before when it came to Nintendo first party titles. And once again, just to reiterate for the people watching this, I've seen so many people being like, oh, well, no, Pokopia, Pokemon, Nintendo doesn't own Pokemon, they're not in control of Pokemon. They are publishing the game. They are in charge of the distribution. Nintendo is publishing the physical game and they're publishing it on the eShop, which means they are 100% in control of that physical release. I don't need you guys whipping out Nintendo owns 33% of Pokemon and they own 33% of creatures or Game Freak. That's irrelevant. It's truly irrelevant given that they just released Hyrule Warriors on a cartridge and they're publishing Pokopia, which means they're in charge of the release. I'm rambling at this point. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you feel about Pokopia being a game key card release? How do you feel about the seemingly renewed push from Nintendo to push game key cards with this new trailer they released? And I guess let me know why you think Pokopia is a game key card. What do you think the reasoning is specifically for this title? Is there the cope, I guess, that it's just a one-time thing, or do you think this spells something bad for the future of Nintendo Switch 2 exclusives? As always, subscribe here for more video game collecting and JRPG content. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames, and follow my Nintendo news channel at BoTalksGames as well. Posted a Zelda video over there yesterday, so definitely give that a watch. I would appreciate it. And until next time, folks, peace.